We have one.
One at 6:10 p.m. and one
But they both allege open container violations?
correct.
Okay.
The one at 7, looks like 7:35 or 7:05.
Yeah.
State's going to null process that or ask that it be dismissed.
All right, so the one that came later in time allegedly is being dismissed at the request of the prosecution. Okay, so we're only going with the one that alleges open container and somewhere in Central Square at 6:10 p.m. on July 18th.
Raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please have a seat and identify yourself for the record.
My name is Jason Thompson. I work with the Keene Police Department as a patrolman.
How long you worked for the Keene Police Department?
For the Keene Police Department, I've been working since January of 2006.
City ordinance.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with the Keene City ordinances?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with the ordinances relative to open containers of alcohol?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, if I could have this marked, the state's exhibit number 1.
Exhibit or?
Right. Unless, do you have an objection to it being marked as a full exhibit, Mr. Ray?
I do not.
So it's a full exhibit. I'll show you what's been marked as state's exhibit number 1. If you could take a second or a minute to review that. And there's the back to it also. Does that exhibit reflect the Keene City ordinance as you understand it relative to open containers of alcohol?
Yes.
Directing your attention to July
Does the
18th.
defendant have a copy of that?
He does. Directing your attention to July 18th of this year at approximately 6 p.m. Were you on duty?
I was.
And where were you assigned?
I was dispatched to Central Square in the common area for people consuming alcoholic beverages.
And is the Central Square in Keene, is that public property?
It is.
Owned by the city of Keene?
Yes.
And could you describe for the court what you observed when you pulled up to Central Square?
I exited my cruiser and began walking in, and there was only a few people in the square at the time. Upon observing one bench, a male subject was sitting alone and was holding a 12 fluid ounce can of Budweiser in his hand.
And what did you do after you made this observation?
I approached him, and as I approached him, he observed me coming. He set it to his left side on the park bench. I went over to the bench, looked down at the can, observed it to be open and containing approximately half its quantity of beverage inside it.
And what did you do after that?
I took custody of the can at that point and smelled the beverage inside, which clearly detected the odor of alcohol.
And did you then approach the person who you observed holding that can?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to identify the person?
Yes, I was.
And how did you do that?
The male subject provided his name and date of birth to me.
And what was his name?
Jonathan Ray.
And is Mr. Ray here in court today?
He is. He's the male subject sitting at the defendant's seat with a white shirt.
Did the record reflect the witnesses?
And the record will reflect that?
So after you seized the can and smelled it, and did you ask Mr. Ray any questions about the contents of the can?
Yes, I did. I asked him if he knew that he couldn't possess open containers of alcohol on publicly owned or public land in Keene. He said he did not.
And did you ask him if he was in agreement that the can in fact contained alcohol?
Yes, I did, and he confirmed that it did contain alcohol.
And so after seizing the can, what did you do with the contents of it?
I poured it out. At that time, I observed the liquid inside it to be the color, odor, and overall appearance to be beer.
Okay. And then did you place the can in evidence?
I did.
If I may have this, do you object to this being entered as a full exhibit?
No, I do not.
This states exhibit number 2. Oops, sorry. Sure, what's been marked as state's exhibit number 2. Can you identify that as the can that Mr. Ray was in possession of?
It is the can.
And after Mr. Ray was gave you his information, was he released on a summons?
Yes, he was.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, Mr. Ray, this is your opportunity, if you want to avail yourself of it, to ask the witness questions.
I would like to ask a
Okay,
question.
you can stand up and ask any questions that are relevant to the case.
Officer Thompson, thank you for coming in today. On July 18th, did you witness me damaging any personal property?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Okay, the objection is relevancy ground. What's the relevance of the question to this case?
It's important to me, Your Honor, to give Officer Thompson an opportunity to demonstrate that I've committed a crime.
Well, you're not charged with damaging any property, so it's not relevant to this particular case.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further
No further
questions.
questions? Okay. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can have a seat then. Leave that up here, please. State rests.
Stay rest.
All right, Mr. Ray, if you wanted to testify, this is your opportunity to do that if you so chose. Again, you're not obligated to do that. Or if you had a witness to come forward to testify, you could call a witness to the stand.
I rest.
All right. Prosecution's burden here again is beyond a reasonable doubt. The evidence supports finding beyond a reasonable doubt. The fine is totals $155. Can you pay that this morning?
Can I pay to a charity, Your Honor?
No.
No, I cannot pay.
You have a job?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much do you earn at your job? What do you do? What do you do for work?
I clean floors.
Is this a valid address for you? 176 Church, number 1?
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
mailing address too?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you want to do community service instead?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you heard me talk with Mr. Dixon about needing to get approval if it's not one of the standard not-for-profit agencies.
I wasn't paying attention, Your Honor.
Okay. It'll be 15 and a half hours of community service. 30 days be enough time for you?
No, I'll need, I think, 60 days, Your Honor.
No, I'll give you 30 days. It has to be at a valid not-for-profit agency, and some of the more common ones that people choose when they do community service are the Community Kitchen, Humane Society, Red Cross, Salvation Army, a homeless shelter, something like that.
Is there a
Pardon me?
I apologize, Your Honor. Is there a resource I could go to find a list?
We have a list outside of a lot of the agencies in the area. If you're in Keene, there are many of them. You don't have to do it at one. You can split the time up between more than one agency. Sometimes people go out, however, and they do it, and they'll volunteer their time, but they'll volunteer for, say, a for-profit company, which wouldn't be acceptable. So you need to get, if there's any question about the acceptability, you need to come in and get the okay on it. Otherwise, you might have to do it again. But if you pick one of the normal ones, there won't be any problem at all.
Okay.
You need to appear at the window on the 15th of January with your proof, and wait till you get it approved, and then your sentence will be deemed to be completed. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, you just need to wait outside for a few minutes. I'll give you a copy of that order, and that'll serve as your reminder about when to be back.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.